Del Bigtree on the line with us, the producer of the new movie Vaxxed. The website is Vaxxed, V-A-X-X-E-D, themovie.com. And you can contact Del and Dr. Wakefield through that site as well. Del, you're still with us?
I'm still here.
You are. There you go. Okay. Devin, whoops. I just hung up on somebody by accident. Whoever I hung up on, give us a call back. Devin in Churro, South Carolina. Hey, Devin, what's on your mind?
Hi, Tom. How are you? And thanks
Fine.
for taking my call.
Sure.
I've been listening on and off the last hour or so. And my question is, Dr. Wakefield wrote a seminal paper in 1998, I believe, on the association between the vaccine and autism, which was thoroughly discredited in the medical and scientific community. And basically, in a sense, he's been defrogged as a scientist in Europe and the United States. I haven't seen the movie at all, to be honest with you, but I wonder if that was addressed at all within the film. And and another point, I think extraordinary, or these claims need extraordinary type of evidence, and I don't think the evidence is there right now. But I just would like your guest to comment on that.
Sure. Del?
Yeah, I'd love to. First of all, what your caller just said is the typical misrepresentation of what the paper actually was. It was not a study of vaccines and autism. That's sort of what it's been called. That's part of the beginning of I would call it almost a hoax around this paper. The paper actually was looking at the connection of a novel bowel disease and autism. And how it happened was Andy Wakefield had done about 140 different papers that had been published in journals all around the world. He was a top scientist. He was a gastroenterologist. And after a paper came out on Crohn's disease, a mother contacted him and said, "My son is autistic. I'd like you to take a look at him." And Andy said, "I don't know anything about autism. You've called the wrong number." And she said, "No, this syndrome you're describing in Crohn's disease, this gut disease you're describing, I believe my son has this problem, and it started with his autism." That's how this whole thing began. So the study ended up being 12 families all claiming this same thing, that not only did their child have autism, they seemed to be doubled over in writhing pain. They had lost the ability to walk and talk, but there was something going on in their stomach. Some said it was constant diarrhea. Others said constipation that went on for weeks. And so Dr. Andy Wakefield put together a team of 12 of the top professionals in their field, top scientists, including Professor John Walker Smith, that was the leading pediatric gastroenterologist in the world. What the paper did prove was that there was a distinct, novel intestinal disease that was going along with autism. One of the interesting things they found is when they would clear the gut out the day before doing a colonoscopy to look at the intestinal tracts of these children, many of the mannerisms would disappear, the head banging, the rocking. So there was clearly something connecting this gut disease and this what was being called a neurological disease. And so really what the paper pointed out was this may not be just a neurological disease. There's clearly a connection to the intestinal tract. And interestingly enough, over the years, now you'll find that most people that have autistic children, they are helping. Some are bringing them completely out of autism and returning them to schools. Others are at least helping their symptoms. But most of that work is being done through diet, through treatment of the intestinal tract. So it's proving Andy to be right all along. Now, this connection to the vaccine in this was only a side note in the paper. What happened was 8 of the 12 families that came forward talking about this gut disease said that their child had developed autism right after the MMR vaccine. Now, it was a case study. This wasn't a giant, people say it was only 12 people. Well, it was only 12 kids. It's just a case study. It's sort of the beginning, first look at an issue. And in doing that, you have to write everything everyone says, including every doctor that saw the child, everything that's ever been written, all of the background. And when the parents, 8 of the 12 parents said the MMR vaccine caused my child's autism, It's important to note that the other 12 scientists that were working with Andy did have a problem with that. They said, do we have to publish this in the paper? Because clearly this is going to alarm people. It's going to upset the Ministry of Health and our vaccine program. And it's obviously, we get a lot of funding into this school from the pharmaceutical industry. And Andy asked this. He said, if the parents had reported, if 8 of the 12 parents reported that their child got autism right after having live measles, having regular measles, would we put it in the paper? And all 12 of the scientists said, yes, we would, Andy. He said, so then the only reason we wouldn't write this in the paper now is because we're worried about how it's going to affect a pharmaceutical industry and the vaccine program in this country. And they all agreed, yes, you're right. Now, what I want to really point out, Tom, is now think about it. When they call this the Andy Wakefield fraud and he made up this fake data and put this fake paper and got it published in this, they leave out the fact that you had these 12 other scientists that had to co-sign and write their names on this study. Now think about the fact that they were already paranoid about this issue because they knew that this side note from these parents about the MMR vaccine was going to be problematic and draw attention. So now you have 12 extremely paranoid top scientists in the world that combed through every word of this study that Andy had written out, and they signed their names to it. This fraud is impossible. I ask anybody under those circumstances how you would slip fake information past the top scientists in the world when that's exactly when they were as paranoid as they were. And so, in the end, okay, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so why did the Lancet pull the article?
That came years later after you had basically a journalist, tabloid journalist, rework the entire, call people and rewrite a new history of how the thing came about. And the General Medical Council used this journalist's perspective of the study as a way of going after Andy Wakefield. For instance, one of the most horrific claims is that Andy Wakefield abused handicapped children. Okay, what that is the fact that they did colonoscopies and intestinal biopsies and spinal biopsies on these children to get to the heart of the gut disease. They call that abuse of a handicapped child because what they want to say is there is no gut disease, that this is a neurological issue. So since Andy did colonoscopies on children that had a neurological issue, he was, committing, abusing them. But the point was these parents had come forward saying they have a gut disease. Right. And that has proven to be true over and over and over again across the world.
Did he lose his medical license over this? I've had several people say that.
Yes, he did. He had his medical license revoked. They can't take away his education, but they took away his medical license. But every one of these things falls apart, just as I've pointed out. You can't say a doctor has abused children when he is doing, tell me this, how do you investigate intestinal disease without doing a colonoscopy?
Sure. So,
would anyone in your audience say that's abusing a child? I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either. So the net of this, by the way, is that this movie is not about Dr. Wakefield. It's not about his research. It's not about anything that he has done. He played a role in making the movie, but it's entirely about this whistleblower who is one of the top scientists at the Center for Disease Control, who is begging Congress to ask him to testify under oath before Congress as a whistleblower. Do I have that right?
That was a fantastic review, Tom. I wish all the other papers and the news agencies in this country would follow your lead.
Yeah, okay, all right.
To watch more clips from our programs, hit the Watch More Videos button over here. And please be sure to hit the handy-dandy subscribe button so you'll always be up to date. Tag, you're it.